what's really interesting is recently I had a discussion with Binyamin Tzedakah. He is the top Samaritan scholar in the world. He's written 108 books, this guy. And he says to me something really interesting, and we'll get back to him hopefully later. But he says to me, do you know what the name means? I said, I know what it means, but you're a Samaritan. What do you think it means, right? And he says to me, it means he was, he is to come. He will be. Yahweh, he was, he is, he will be. So the Jews know this and the Samaritans know it. You know where else you find this, Michael? I think you do know. It's in the book of Revelation. So you have the book of Revelation has he was, he is to come, or he will be. He is to come as a translation essentially of Yehieh, he will be. And so you have this in the Jews, the Samaritans, and the New Testament. Now you can't tell me, well, the Jews looked in the book of Revelation, that's where they got it. Obviously, they got it from a common source, right? And the Samaritans certainly aren't getting it from the Jews. So where are they all getting this from? So I asked this to Binyamin Tzedakah, how do you know that's what it means? And he said, it's obvious from Exodus 3:14. So he's a second witness.
Okay.
I said that for years. When you read it in Hebrew, Ehyeh, I will be, is the explanation of the name Yehovah. How is it an explanation? Well, this has to do with how Hebrew verbs are structured. So essentially, you take those three forms of the verb, Hayah, Hoveh, Hieh, you combine them, and you get Yud He Vav He, God's personal name. And that's why he's saying, I will be, has sent me. And then he explains, okay, just so you know, that's just a one-time title for now. But my name for generation to generation, my eternal name is Yehovah. That's his eternal name. That's what Exodus 3:14-15 means. Now, with all that, scholars came along.
Let me ask you. You were speaking with the head scholar of the Samaritans up on Mount Gerizim.
Yeah.
And so he knows what it means. And so what does he say the name is? Is this...
So he says that, I asked him, how do you pronounce it? He said, we don't pronounce it. Instead of pronouncing the name, we say Shema, which is Aramaic for the name. 2 Kings 17. Can I pull up? Share this with people?
Yeah. I think this is very important for people to understand the background of the Samaritans. I take my tour groups up to meet the Samaritans, go in the museum, and this is one of the features. Yeshua spoke to the woman at the well, a Samaritan.
Right. And now look, today there's something like 600 Samaritans. In the time of Yeshua, there were 1 million Samaritans. Right? They were a large contingent of people who dominated what's today northern Israel, the area of Samaria, the so-called West Bank, which Jews called Judea and Samaria. So 2 Kings 17 describes the exile of the 10 northern tribes. They're taken as captives into another land. And why did the Assyrians do this? Their policy was, it's really hard to control people who are far away from you because they'll rebel. And how do you prevent them from rebelling? You take the people from the city, Beit Shan, and you go and you plant them somewhere surrounded by enemies. Well, who are they going to rebel with, right? They're not going to join up with the next town because they don't even speak the language of the next town. They don't have the same religion as the next town. Mm-hmm. It was divide and conquer. That's what the Assyrians did. So the Assyrians took the 10 tribes, scattered them all over what today is Iran and Iraq, and possibly parts of Syria. And in their place, they took people from 5 different regions, which were also in those areas.
And this is all stipulated in
It's described in detail in 2 Kings 17. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but let me just read you the key part here, where he says, verse 24, and the king of Assyria, of 2 Kings 17, verse 24, and the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon, and from Cutha, and from Ava, and from Hamath, and from Sepharvaim, and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel, meaning in the
replaced them.
Right. Yeah. Why did he do that? Well, because
running their businesses.
Right. We want to be able to tax people, so we can't just have a bunch of empty cities, and we want to have let's be really honest. We want to have human shields. So when the Egyptians invade Assyria, they've got to go through these villages that are garrisoned by people from these 5 cities who are now in Samaria instead of back in Babylon and other places, right? So it has 2 functions there. One is for taxes, and one is it's a human shield. Then they possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof. And so it was at the beginning of their dwelling there that they feared the Lord. And in Hebrew it says Yehovah. Therefore Yehovah sent lions among them, which slew some of them. Wherefore they spake to the king of Assyria, saying, the nations which thou hast removed and placed in the cities of Samaria, know not the manner of the God of the land. Basically, what they're saying is,
now these are pagans that have been moved in.
Oh yeah, pagans from
they
Cutha,
don't know
Servine.
the God of the land, so to speak.
Right, and their thought is, it's a very common pagan thought. Pagans. And even if you go, for example, today, and I don't mean this to insult anybody, if you go today to India, they'll say, yeah, all gods are real. We just worship this one particular God, or maybe 2 or 3 gods, right? But they don't deny that Jesus is a God, and that Allah is a God, and that whoever, like I don't even like Buddha's a God. They don't have an issue with that. They just say, we just don't worship Buddha. We worship our gods. So that's the way they were thinking is, well, why are these lions attacking us? Why were the lions really attacking them? Well, 1, they were sitting, and 2, the cities had been abandoned for some period of time. And so lions took over the place. More like in Israel, it was more like, mountain lions, right? It's not African lions, right? Mm-hmm. Big bobcats think, right? But they're being attacked by these wild beasts. Why? Because they sinned and because the area had been abandoned, right? They're moving into places that maybe nobody lived for a few years, and they're taken over by wild animals. So they say, oh, we know why this is happening. We better worship the God of the land. Who's the God of the land? We don't know. We came into some foreign country called Samaria, called Israel. So what happens? Long story short, the king of Assyria commands that one of the priests of the 10 tribes is sent back to teach these Gentiles how to follow the God of the land. Right. Who is this priest? He's one of the wicked priests that got the 10 tribes exiled in the first place. And we're told earlier in Kings, in 1 Kings 11, we're told that this is the sin of Jeroboam, that the 10 tribes take priests who aren't from Levi, who aren't from Aaron, and they anoint them priests. They're priests in the Catholic sense.
The lowest people.
Well, they're not from the line of Aaron. A biblical priest has to be from the line of Aaron. And they took just anybody who they thought was worthy of being a priest, and they called him priest. So this is one of the priests who ends up teaching the Samaritans how to follow the Torah.